Greetings, friends. Salutations from space and aloha from Earth. Gemini Brett here, at least in two places, and moving to a third. We celebrate here on Wednesday, Miraculous Mercury's Day, thrice great Hermes. So, testing new systems here and starting a whole new commitment to the craft of astrology. Inspired today by this triple conjunction of Mercury, Sun, and Saturn. Or was that Sun, Mercury, and Saturn? What is the difference? All right, well, today's weekly Wednesday, the first of weekly Wednesdays that I hope to commit to for at least a year, is called Grounded Mysticism. And inspired again by Mercury and Saturn, simultaneously Cazimi. What does that mean? Cazimi in the throne room, or in the heart of it, in the heart of the flames of the sun. All right, so when I call this triple conjunction in Tropical Pisces, Mercury, Sun, Saturn, kind of working with Saturn and maybe Mercury as well, because it's good grammar to speak the name of the faster moving planet first when you are speaking about astrological aspects. Mercury faster than the sun, sun faster than Saturn, and so a Mercury-Sun-Saturn conjunction. That's good Saturn, rules, good Mercury grammar. But is Pisces really about that stuff? And if we want to also do good Saturn, which is like the bones, not only in your body, but of the solar system and all things, then perhaps we should call this a Sun-Mercury-Saturn conjunction. Why? Because let's say you are the Earth and my face is the sun. Currently, Mercury is behind the sun, and Saturn, of course, behind that. I think I'll show you this in two ways. And those of you on my YouTube page are going to get a much better view than those of you in the Instagram space. But regardless of where you are, I'm super happy that you are here. And I'd love for you to say hello in the comments below, whether you are joining me live or in a time I currently perceive to be the future. Anyway, let me show this to you in a couple ways here. So we'll try out the old share screen situation in this new place that I'm playing. Buttons and buttons and buttons. All right, let's do this. Okay, the School of Earthstrology. It's a new adventure for the school that has kind of been asleep or resting during my time of much sickness. So I've just had to shut it down, but I'm feeling great now. I'm back, and I'm inspired by this triple conjunction of Mercury, Sun, and Saturn. Or was that Sun, Mercury, and Saturn? Or was that Sun, Saturn, and Mercury in this 10th degree of Tropical Pisces? I chose to go live today at 10:45 a.m. locally here in Richmond, California, because it was at that time when the degree of the zodiac that was rising when I was born, so many years ago, was at the ascendant in my birthplace. And so I don't get my exact midheaven degree because I do not live at the same latitudes where I was born. But regardless, when this 10th degree of tropical Gemini is on the rise, it is the 10th degree of tropical Pisces that it's at the highest part of the ecliptic, the path of the sun above the ground. And so I wanted to just honor that. I will be in the weekly Wednesdays moving forward, going live at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So if you want to join me live, whether it's at my Gemini Brett Facebook page or at my Gemini Brett Instagram page or at my Gemini Brett YouTube space, it's 11 a.m. on Wednesdays moving forward, unless like I'm on a trip or something like that. I'm going to speak in a little bit about another offering on Saturn's Day to celebrate this Mercury, miércoles, Wednesday, Saturday, sábado, Saturn's Day, Sabbath, Sun. So at some point we're going to have to bring Sundays into the mix too. Triple conjunction today. All right, so let me show this thing to you from a heliocentric perspective. Thanks to this wonderful software called Solar System Scope. When Mercury is direct in conjunct the Sun, that means Mercury is on the other side of the Sun from us here on Earth, and literally like impossible to see, as far from Earth as he gets. You know, we don't really even know Mercury exists at this time, but we have faith, which is a good Pisces word, in our astronomical calculations and tables, which is probably good Saturn stuff, right? The only type of Sun-Saturn conjunction, and I say Sun-Saturn because good grammar, Saturn, Mercury, is to speak the name of the faster moving planet first. The Sun gets around the zodiac in a year. It's actually our experience of Earth orbiting the Sun in a year, right? It takes Saturn about 29 and a half years to make that zodiacal trip, right? Sun much faster through the zodiac than Saturn. So if we speak with good grammar, the name of the fastest moving planet first in this triple conjunction to the slowest, we would say Mercury-Sun-Saturn. But if we want to speak about like distance from Earth in this moment, this wouldn't be true if it was retrograde Mercury conjunct Sun, which we'll take a look at in just a second. But if we want to speak about, proximity, then currently Mercury is on the other side of the Sun. So how about Earth, Sun, Mercury, and then Saturn way back there in further distant space? Okay. Mercury sometimes inspires us to rewind Mercury retrograde, which happens 3 times a year. About 3 weeks each time. Mercury thrice great, Hermes Trismegistus. And it was December 22nd, 2023, when Mercury came between Earth and the Sun. That's an interior or inferior, which means below Mercury-Sun conjunction. And what happens December 22nd every year? Well, that is the Sun shining directly above Earth's Tropic of Capricorn. Sun ingress tropical Capricorn. Yes, my friends, the tropical zodiac is entirely astronomical. It's something I will be sharing and teaching again and again and again and again and again. And of course, this means with the Sun and Mercury meeting at tropical Capricorn, that they met from what we have to say in Saturn's place or Saturn's sign. Saturn's house, right? So I'm just going to rewind time, and I'm going to go back to Mercury conjunct Sun. I'm going to call it Sun conjunct Mercury, even though that's bad grammar, but it's going to be faster for us to get there. December 22nd, 2023, it was 10:54 a.m. Pacific time when we had Mercury align between Earth and the Sun. And I can tell that this is Mercury between Earth and the Sun because the red font in this particular display at AstroGold astrology software indicates Mercury retrograde, and Mercury is retrograde when passing Earth by, when passing between Earth and the Sun. You know, all planets are retrograde when either they are passing the Sun, as the fast planets Mercury and Venus do, or when they are passing the Earth. Venus and Mercury pass the Earth, right? Come between Earth and the Sun. The other planets, the exterior planets, those whose orbital paths are exterior to Earth's, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, the visible of that crew, but also those we can't see with our eyes, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, asteroids, centaurs, trans-Plutonians, right? They are retrograde when Earth passes them by. Regardless, retrograde means close. And, amazingly at this time now, this late February 2024, if you're into that whole Gregorian trip, there are no planets retrograde, at least the ones I have displayed, which are the visibles, and then Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Chiron is here too. None of the planets are retrograde, which is an amazing thing. So there's this kind of forward motion, which feels a little bit more Capricorn, like where Mercury came between Earth and the Sun on December 22nd, 2023, to begin this 4-month-ish Mercury-Sun cycle in Saturn's sign of Capricorn. The time they were sextile Saturn in Pisces, trine Jupiter in Taurus. And now, of course, we have this next kind of principal stage of the Mercury-Sun synodic cycle. Synod means meeting, okay? So back on December 22nd, 2023, we had Mercury and Sun meeting with Mercury between us and the Sun. That's interior, or the term that's often employed by astronomers is inferior, which means below. And then today, let's just hit real time here in solar system scope. It's Mercury conjunct Sun, but it's direct Mercury conjunct Sun, which means Mercury on the other side of the Sun. Regardless of whether Mercury's retrograde conjunct Sun between us and the Sun or direct conjunct Sun on the other side of the Sun, we can't see Mercury because, of course, Mercury is under the beams of the Sun, right? And therefore, we are blind to that mercurial experience, at least visually. Yes? Now, when Mercury's retrograde conjunct Sun, that is Mercury passing by, let's use the Mercury Astrology teacup I have here. Thanks to my friend Elizabeth Boo for making these. Mercury, if you are the Earth and my face is the Sun, passes between us and then goes back behind the Sun, right? So interior conjunction, exterior conjunction, or inferior conjunction, superior conjunction, meaning inferior below and superior above, right? Above the realm or the sphere of the Sun, right? And Mercury does this about every 4 months, really 116 to 118 days. It's hard to pin averages on the very eccentric Mercury because Mercury's orbital path is very eccentric, meaning quite elliptical. Till we get out to Pluto, as far as the quote unquote planets are concerned, Mercury is the most eccentric, the most elliptical, right? So don't try to pin those averages on Mercury. It works much better for beings like Venus who have very harmonious near circular orbits. All right, we have to consider the Earth's orbit and all that too, but I digress. Let's not get too technical with this today. So I call this current Mercury-Sun synodic cycle that we're in, and there's about 3 of these a year. Actually, with the genius of Mercury, there's pi Mercury-Sun cycles every year. Amazing. There's 22 in 7 years, and 22 sevenths is a ratio that we use to approximate pi, which cannot be expressed by a ratio. It is irrational. It's transcendental, let's say, to use a much more Piscean word. All right. So anyway, I like to call this particular Mercury-Sun cycle a Capricorn Pisces cycle because Mercury came between Earth and the Sun in Capricorn, as we saw. That was December 22nd, 2023. And now here on February 28th, 2024, Mercury's back behind the Sun. All right. Mercury will next conjoin the Sun, retrograde, passing between Earth and Sun again on April 11th, 2024, in the sign of Aries. And by the way, that's very important because this cycle began with Mercury conjunct Sun, retrograde Mercury conjunct Sun in Capricorn, Earth sign. All the Mercury-Sun conjunctions of 2023 and 2022 were in Earth signs. And now Mercury, in kind of a meta retrograde, goes back to the fire signs. And you know what? I feel like maybe that should be the teaching for the free class I'm going to offer in community discussion this Saturday, this Saturn's Day, Mercury elemental years. But I think I'm called to speak about the void, of course, moon and translation of light. Because when I was looking at the chart for this launch of these weekly Wednesdays, it was like, do I really want to go with this time? Because the moon is void, of course. Mercury is said to be both exile and fall in the sign of Pisces because Mercury is the only planet schizophrenic enough to be an honored guest in her own sign, which is an amazing thing, right? Mercury is said to be the domicile lord of the sign of Virgo. That's Mercury's home, as is Gemini, right? All planets have 2 besides Sun and Moon, according to the theme of Mundi. the chart of the world soul, which first taught us this connection between signs and planets, which we are told was gifted to us by Hermes thrice great, Hermes Trismegistus, long ago. Yeah, and we find that in the Thema Mundi, Mercury is the domicile lord or the landlord or the landlady, if you prefer. Mercury is always everything, both of tropical Virgo. I should just say of Virgo. The Thema Mundi does not suggest whether it is a constellational thing, but it actually can't be because it's equal signs, or a sidereal thing, or a tropical thing. I will argue for tropical, and that's a discussion for another time. That one's going to be for a course, by the way, about the turning of the ages and so much more. I just want to check in with some comments here. This is kind of a new space for me. That's StreamYard, thanks to them, which is allowing me to broadcast to 3 places simultaneously. And I can see some comments here. I see that a lot of them are coming in from YouTube and some from Facebook. So have fun to hear from you in a few places. Seeing some personal connections to this, which is wonderful, because I would love to know how you are feeling personally inspired by this triple conjunction of Mercury-Sun-Saturn. Oh, wait, or was it Sun-Mercury-Saturn? One is good grammar, speaking the faster moving planet first and the slowest last. The other good honoring of the bones of the solar system and proximity, because currently it's Earth, Sun, Mercury, Saturn, right? Anyway. Triple conjunction, double Cazimi. Cazimi means planets conjoin the sun from the Hellenistic point of view within 1 degree. From later medieval traditions, a tighter criterion of only 17 arc minutes. So I'm seeing, like, from Shauna, like the triple conjunction exactly conjunct her north node. From Stephen, the Jupiterian, almost exactly conjunct his sun. Happy birthday, Stephen. Happy solar return. And north node, which, by the way, reveals that Stephen was born in eclipse season. And we have an eclipse coming soon. I'll be speaking a little bit more about that and discounted eclipse readings and how you can get down with that shortly. Actually, you know what? Since that just entered the room, let's honor the timelessness of the Pisces thing and how we can follow the tides, and they might take us in places that we weren't expected, but we can learn to predict tides and undertows and such. Saturn. Okay, anyway, for those of you who are on my mailing list, I will be soon sending out a short email that has a Zoom webinar link for a free teaching this Saturday. What was this? Saturn's Day. What is that? March 2nd. We'll do it from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific time. So noon to 2 p.m. in Eastern time, and later on in the East and that, right? Do your own math. But that I'm going to teach a bit about void of course moon, and why the modern criterion is different than the ancient criterion. Actually, why there's been different criterions through time about void of course. I'll share a really kind of deep heart experience about first experiencing like a Hellenistic void of course moon, which is a very kind of like rare thing, but I'll also speak about the doctrine of translation of the light. So like moon carrying the energy of her previous conversation to that of her next. Mercury can do this as well. So Mercury can join the sun and then can join Saturn. Mercury can join Saturn and will soon sextile Jupiter beautifully, because Mercury in Pisces, Saturn in Pisces, Sun in Pisces, that's Jupiter's world. So it's really nice that they have an aspect with Jupiter now. So I'll be speaking a bit about that and translation of light and how it was used in like horary astrology, the astrology of divination, but how I love to work with it in natal charts. So if you'd like to join me for that, we'll be totally free. Just make sure you're signed up for my mailing list, which you can do at GeminiBrett.com. There's a little form right at the top of the website. Would love to see you there. I'm yet to decide about, you know, what I think what I'll do is I will record kind of the first bit, the short transmission about void of course, how we can work with it, what it is, how do we know when it is. why there's these different criterion throughout different stages of astrological understanding or different paradigms of the practice, and translation of light, and how you can kind of easily discover your own personal natal translation and that, right? So I'll do a short transmission about it on Saturn's Day, this Saturday, and I'd love for you to join me live if you're free. If you're not, I'll record that bit and send it to you, and then I will probably hit stop record, because most importantly, this triple conjunction is invoking in me today a deeper commitment to my craft, and to finally, for once in my life, to commit to regular timed weekly broadcasts, so you'll know when to find me if you would like to participate with my work. And also to really commit to creating a space where we students of the Starry Study can get together to support one another, to share mind, to share heart, right? I mean, it can be a lonely thing, right, to explore astrology. And even, you know, when we connect in community groups like this online, it may be much nicer if we're in person. For those of you who do live near me here in the Bay Area, I will likely begin some in-person meetups as well. All right. But, you know, just to come together so we can explore some of these themes, some of the going-ons in our personal charts, and to just really share heart and support one another, because it can be a lonely thing to have been called to the crazy mysteries. Oh, Dave Hoover, Celtic Harper, dear brother, I'm seeing your comment here on Instagram. Wow, it's really nice to be blessed by you. Everyone check out Dave Hoover, Celtic Harper, a beautiful soul, a wonderful mystic, grounded mystic, and just a beautiful musician. So I guess, and thank you, David, for reminding me to retrograde back to, or circle back to the theme of this thing, which is grounded mysticism. Kelly writes here, mind spinning with ideas, Gemini rising, can't rest. Yeah, welcome to my world. And why not go live with these things at a time where the local current actually is much like it was when I was born. And some would say, why not? Oh, because the moon is void, of course, depending on the criterion that you're working with. That Mercury, who's the lord of the horoscope or the steersman of any Gemini rising chart, is exiled and in full. Not to mention conjunct Saturn, but at least separating, and at least it's daytime. Rules, 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 paradigms, paradigms, paradigms. But, you know, and it's strong Pisces, so probably not the best time to like try to be organized, right? But that's why I wanted to show you that this current direct Pisces Mercury Sun conjunction is not only with Saturn, but in a cycle that began with retrograde Mercury conjunct Sun in the sign of Capricorn. Saturn then, though, was in Pisces. And so grounded mysticism, in a sense, it's like inspired by Saturn's long travel through tropical Pisces. Saturn grounded, Pisces mysticism. Saturn boundaries, Pisces boundarylessness. How the heck can that work? Well, it can, right? So let's be mystics, but let's be grounded. Now, if you've joined classes at the School of Earthstrology or seen my work at different astrological conferences or sometimes online, you know I painstakingly put the time in to create slides and animations, especially when I'm trying to convey the astronomical understanding to astrologers, which is one of the great callings that I've received. Answered, I should say, am answering. You know, there's reasons why I do that, because pictures tell 1,000 words and animations 1,000,000. And I really want to help people embody this astrological exploration, not just to do it in the mind or to do it in like belief and faith alone, but to like ground it into your body. And so my students all know that I teach sacred geometry, hence the flower of life shirt I'm wearing. If you're watching a video, you see that right now. Why I teach harmony, music, why I teach number, right? And number in space, that's geometry. Number in time, that's harmony. Number in space and time, that's astronomy, the measurable side of the heavenly happenings, to help us ground. So then we can rainbow bridge through the great magical craft of astrology to the immeasurable side of the heavenly happenings, which is correspondences, right? The more we can ground through reconnecting to the living sky, to the sacred sciences, right? The more we can receive the whispers of the mysteries and transmit them in a way that will actually offer practical opportunity, right, for ourselves and for those who we are honored to share with. And I'm so honored to share with so many, right? Students, clients, friends, fellow students, fellow seekers, yes, fellow mystics. So by the way, if you're interested in doing a reading with me, that can always happen at GeminiBrett.com. And if you're on my list, again, I will be sending out a free webinar. Actually, we'll do a meeting link for this Saturday so we can all connect and share, right? Where I'll be teaching something about the doctrines of void of course moon and translation of light and what you can do about it and when and how. So we'll do that again at this Saturday, the Saturn's Day at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And then we'll have a meetup, a community discussion about it. Share your wisdom with us, with me, teach me, please. But in that email, I will also send out a coupon for discounted eclipse and eclipse cycle sessions if you're interested in exploring the coming total solar eclipse, the 20th degree of Aries with Chiron in your own nativity. I'm here for you, all right? So please head over to GeminiBrett.com and sign up for my list if you're not on it already. I promise I won't spam you. I have a hard time getting emails out. You're not going to get a lot of them. But I'm trying to get better about my commitment to my work. I have a baby on the way. Anna and I will have a baby girl born sometime June 12th if she chooses to arrive at the due date with many planets in Gemini. So we'll see when she chooses to come, but everything's going really well, super healthy. Anna's doing great. And I'm kind of getting ready. And so, you know, got to commit to the biz a little bit more, right? The family's expanding and all that. So it's good for me to be inspired by this triple conjunction, which happens to be in the degree that wasn't culminating when I was born. That's the midheaven degree, but was highest above the ground. That's the non-adjustable. It squares the ascendant degree, all right? So I wanted to broadcast this at the time when that's happening locally, even though I don't have slides to keep me on track. And it's not necessarily a stay on track kind of thing, but that's why I created a set list, right? I used to be in a jam band. It was great. And, you know, a lot of what we wanted to do, so we wouldn't just burn out by playing the same thing every night. Like we actually were physically incapable, musically incapable of that because of the way that our compositions all were based upon creating opportunities for free music in the moment, live conversation with one another and with the crowd and with whatever else was happening to the stars. I'm sure, though I wasn't hip at the time to the starry science. Anyway, you know, the set list helps because if we know we're going from this song to that song, we have encouragement, right? To not only like take a journey, but we have a destination of a place to go, which is going to help inform the journey, right? And, you know, this is a beautiful thing about astrology, right? It's easy, really, to find something to talk about every week, because there's always something special and unique happening with the heavenly harmonies. All right. And today's great happening, there's many. Let me talk about commitment to my craft. I slept in my van last night. Right. From here, we have a beautiful view of the west. And so like evening star Jupiter has been amazing to connect with. I got to see Saturn recently disappear under the beams of the sun. And it will be a while before Saturn is reborn after the sun leaves him and he comes out from the sun's fire. But Saturn will be reborn as a morning star. We don't have good work east here from this particular house. And so it means I got to, wake up early, get in the car, drive someplace that does east. And so last night I was like, I just got this new minivan, getting ready to be a dad. So it's like minivan time. And it's got a little electric outlet so I can blow up an aero bed as I did last night. But sadly, I didn't have like a destination. It was like, let's just drive around and try to find a place, which might be your experience of this maybe more Piscean than Saturnian transmission currently, yes? But it was like that for me last night. Actually, I like dropped a pin in a place which would have a perfect view of the Aquarius, Venus, Mars rising this morning. So I could rise with them and create some video for a class I'm currently co-creating. I'm going to speak a little bit more about that in a second because it's a great time to honor our teachers. So I'll retrograde back to that in a little bit. Anyway, I got to this place, Saturn, private property. It was super Pisces Saturn and really honoring this triple conjunction because it was the marsh, right? It's like water and land, but there was like this private bridge I would have to drive across to get to where I wanted to go. And I didn't want to roll those dice. So I just like drove around until I found a place. And I found a place, though I wasn't supposed to park overnight there, as posted by signs that warned me of federal agents patrolling the area and violators will be cited and towed. And so that didn't promote good sleep, did it? Neither did sleeping in a really cold van. So I was waking up every hour to turn it on and get the heat going. But anyway, I just wanted to express that commitment to my craft, which really wants to have this embodied experiential astrology, right? So I really wanted to be with the moon, who was with Spica last night and still is. Spica, Chitra, beautiful, powerful star that I've been speaking about a lot in a class that I'm currently co-creating. And I wanted to go out and worship Venus and to see this Venus-Mars travel together, and the main thing that came in is if Venus is the feminine and Mars is the masculine, as many astrologies suggest. And I'm currently not saying that. I feel like that boxes those powerful planets in a way that doesn't convey their full nature personally now. It's been part of my cosmological shift. Anyway, if Venus is the feminine and Mars is the masculine, the sky sure seems to be damn sexist, very much in favor of the matriarchy, because Venus is like, Venus, and Mars is like, Mars? You can barely see Mars as a morning star right now. Venus is just so much brighter. But we are at a time where Venus will soon disappear, as Venus, like Mercury, is now travels behind the sun, the Venus-Sun exterior or superior conjunction of this current Leo-Gemini Sun-Venus cycle, Venus-Sun cycle. Good grammar, speak the name of the faster-moving planet first. This current Leo-Gemini-Venus cycle, which featured a retrograde Venus-Sun conjunction, interior conjunction in August of 2023, and will feature an exterior direct Venus-Sun conjunction in the sign of Gemini on June 4th, 2024. Venus is now in a space where she's about to set as a morning star. Now that seems like a weird thing because the morning side's rising, right? But now I'm talking about seasonal setting, cyclical setting, Venus, who will dive, fall. By the way, this is the fallen angel of the light bringer. Venus will fall and disappear into the fire of the sun and then disappear depending on where you live for 2 to 3 months before Venus becomes visible again in the fall or spring, depending on where you live, as an evening star, okay? And it's a very important thing about planets conjoined the sun, as Mercury and Saturn are today. It is a time of their disappearance and then reappearance, of their transformation, either as it is for Saturn right now, from the evening star to the morning star, or as it is for Mercury right now, from a morning star to an evening star. All right, there's very different planets in the way that the planets interior to our orbital path in the sun, who are Mercury and Venus, the interior decorators, and the exterior, those who pass are exterior to our own Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and beyond. They work very differently, right? So the framework, the bones, the Saturn is different for the two. All right. Anyway, let me try to get a little bit organized as we end this flow. I just want to remind you or invite anybody who's recently joined, like the criminal astrologer. Hello to you. And Vanessa, it's great to see you here. Seeing your natal node is pretty close to where the coming total solar eclipse is. So if you'd like to connect with me about that, again, I will be sending out a coupon for eclipse readings and eclipse cycle readings to anyone who's on my list, along with a link for a free class and community discussion this Saturn's Day, March 2nd, 2024, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific time. I know actually 2 of you here, at least who live in Australia, and that's not the most convenient time for you. So we'll see. As I said before, for anyone who signs up for it through the link that I will send out to the folks who are on my list, I'll send you a recording at least of the transmission. But I'm then going to stop record so we can go into open heart community discussion time. Right? It's good to not record that stuff so we can have a more held container, a sacred space, so we can cry and laugh together and do the things, right? Inspired by the heavenly happenings as they do. All right. So to the set list, grounded mysticism. Why? Saturn in Pisces. All right. I had this dream once. I share this often. I used to have a job where I drove around a bunch through Washington, Oregon, and sometimes Idaho. And especially in Oregon, there were a few places where I've seen like in this notorious yellow awning with red writing that said psychic. And they'd be like these strip malls I would drive by, right? And it was this kind of archetype in my own experience of the psychic shop, right? So anyway, I had this dream and I'm driving for work, which kind of felt Saturn, I guess, in review, in retrograde. And there's a strip mall with that psychic awning. And next door, a complete, like the same awning, but in red with yellow writing that said skeptic. And this is a quick dream, or I don't remember much of it. And I just woke up having declared in the dream, hey, I shop at both of those stores. And it's like that with me. That's kind of like a weird thing for an astrologer to say. Because as much as the craft proves herself to me every day, I am honored to sit with amazing awakening, or I prefer to say aweirdening beings like you, tune into their particular celestial song, that amazing expression of their very unique birth moment, see how the timing techniques, some of them astronomical, some of them purely symbolic, do appear to very much work to inspire activations and initiations in our lives. Like astrology proves herself to me every day, and I'm still on the fence, right? Maybe I shouldn't admit that publicly, because I'm not, but I am. And I'm really like resistant to believing. And I think that's healthy, actually, right? Like a healthy amount of like cynicism, skepticism, stoicism. And I'm going to call that grounded, actually, right? Look, if I believed my teachers, then I would believe that astrology is absolute, archaic, superstitious, pseudoscience nonsense. That's what I was taught. It's not like my teachers in school said that every day or said it so religiously, but I heard it at least in a even like maybe subconsciously religious statement through science classes and history classes during my upbringing and my school programming, like many times. And I'm sure you did too. And I am often attacked by rationalists, religious folks who rationalist scientists are, they just don't think they are. And we all have a religion and a belief system. And I think that's something that we're being reminded of right now and something good to check in with. So I'll speak more about that in a sec, right? Anyway, so if I just believed the teachers, I would have never found my way towards my calling. In fact, I really had to be worked on by getting worked through some life decisions and whatnot, and meeting the plants of Earth who taught me about the planets through my own path of awakening, awakening, and hopeful healing, to really like release some of the rigid walls that had been built up in me through believing the programming I was offered when I was young, and still, every time I read an astronomy book, there's the obligatory statement about how astrology is nonsense. Okay. Anyway, I'm still working through that, but I also feel like it's good to be grounded, because I'll have a teacher like express something to me and I'm like, nah, I don't know. Like, but why don't I go look? Let me see if that technique works. Let me go speak with the sky. Yeah, so you can see I'm a mystic too, right? Let me go introduce myself to that star and ask that star to shine light into my heart to teach me what it is. And maybe what I will receive is what I was told to expect. And why didn't I just believe the teacher? It would have been a lot faster, because I want to have an experience. And wisdom, let's talk Saturn. Wisdom is only gained through experience, right? So we have great guides along the way, but your teacher is you. And your connection to the sky is yours. Yeah. Dane Rudhyar, I'm paraphrasing the great astrologer Dane Rudhyar, the great mystic, great musician, painter. Let me try to find the exact quote, language of the sky. Astrology is a language. If you understand this language, the sky speaks to you. Now, I'd like to retrograde that thing. If you understand the sky, the language of astrology speaks to you and through you. And your connection to the sky, your connection to anything, will be very personal. Absolutely personal. Speaking of personal, I just want to check in with a couple comments here. Thank you so much for folks who are here live participating with no advance notice, spontaneous that, and commenting here. It's really, really warms my heart, opens me up. So Armchair Astrologer, I love your name so much, says, your teachings help me ask better questions. Oh, thank you. Like parsing out and discerning truth in a world with a polluted information ecology. Intriguing phrase. Thank you for that. Much thanks to you, especially the astronomy and sky practice. Thank you for your receptions and your reflections. Armchair Astrologer warms my heart, keeps me committed to the graph. Thank you so much. Vanessa says, I resonate with your commitment to the craft. I resonate with yours. Rosalind, astrology is the oldest science of the cosmology of metaphysics. I think that's a good argument, It's hard to say exactly, but we needed the astronomy if we wanted to know where to go and when to go there to survive and eat. Do you know what I mean? And when you start participating with the cycles of the sun and the moon as literally a necessary practice, whether you're nomadic, agricultural, whatever, and if you are open at all, you're going to start receiving correspondences too. And I mean, we can certainly say without a doubt that much of the great tradition of physics, of mathematics, we owe the advancements in these sciences to astrologers. I mean, the whole field of spherical trigonometry is like us trying to figure out what house system to use, right? All right. Anyway, Stephen, the Jupiterian. I went to Catholic school, and there are so many astrological messages in Shakespeare, so many astrological analogies. That's like, what a fun sentence. I went to Catholic school, and there are so many astrological messages in Shakespeare, also in the Bible. But I imagine they weren't teaching either of those things in Catholic school or in science school. But I couldn't agree with you more. It's amazing. Shakespeare really is they or she, Athena, were very important teachers. Are a very important teacher. I definitely have more of an appreciation relationship with the sky because of you, says QZ. Whoa, thank you. Like crying, like literally. That's what I'm here for. I'm not going to bring the rationalist astronomers to astrology, but I hope to bring more and more astrologers to the astronomy, to the framework of the sky, to the measurable side of the heavenly happenings. And it's such a great honor to have the opportunity. I just saw that I've been doing this for 44 minutes and 44 seconds, which reminds me to say every Wednesday, I'm sure there will be times when I take a break, whether it's me solo or doing an interview with amazing beings like you. The plan is to be live at 11:11 a.m. Pacific time on Wednesdays, Mercury's days. So if you can join me live, whether it's at my Gemini Brett Facebook page or Gemini Brett on Instagram or my YouTube page, maybe the best place, by the way, if you want to be able to see full frame images of charts and other astronomical things that I'll show, etc. And also to kind of support the work. It's a good place to be. Although, well, let me just censor that. Anyway, these places, 11:11 a.m. Pacific time, Wednesdays every week. That's the plan for at least a year. We'll see what happens when baby comes and when we're traveling and whatnot, but that's the plan. So I hope to see you live, or you'll be able to catch the replays if you can't and you're interested tuning in to how I've been inspired to share by the heavenly happenings. And then there will also be a weekly teaching and community discussion group that will eventually shift over to a paid membership thing, I imagine, because I have a baby coming, right? Like, gotta do Saturn and not only Mercury. And so here they are conjoined, inspiring this happening. So, all right. Let's get to the set list. So we talked about, is it a Mercury-Sun-Saturn cycle? Good grammar, speak the name of the faster moving planet first in an astrological aspect. Or is it a Sun-Mercury-Saturn cycle? Because currently Sun is closer to Earth than Mercury, and Saturn, of course, furthest away of the three in this triple conjunction, and then the stars. Okay. We talked about the Mercury cycle being, I consider now, and this isn't what I was initially taught, but I consider it to be a Capricorn Pisces cycle. I briefly mentioned how important this is because it is the last Earth Mercury synodic cycle, Earth sign Mercury synodic cycle, Capricorn, for a bit. Mercury will either do 4 or 6 cycles, sometimes 5, but almost always 4 or 6 in the same element. And then in a meta-retrograde fashion, move to the previous element of the zodiacal order, right? And like, think about like Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, fire, earth, air, water. It's a weird way to teach elemental order, but it's what's in the zodiacal framework. After Mercury does earth cycles, he kind of retrogrades and does fire cycles, and then we'll retrograde and do water, and then air, and then back to the earth. All right. So this is a really important cycle in that regard. And it also aligned at solstice time, when the sun ingressing tropical Capricorn shines above Earth's tropic of Capricorn. Yes, the astronomy of the tropical zodiac is real. Run away from people who say it's fake because the signs and constellations don't align like they once did. That's not wrong. Just they have no idea about tropical astronomy. All right. And that's one thing I love to teach. Right. All right. So speaking of teachers, I wanted to honor a couple of teachers in my life, actually more than a few. Saturn is a great image for authorities, which isn't always what a teacher should be. Mercury is a great image for learning. Pisces is a great image for mysticism and also faith and belief system. So again, like, how do we receive teachings without falling straight into a belief system? That's part of the invitation of exploration, personally, collectively, with this triple conjunction of Mercury, Sun, and Saturn. Or was it Sun, Mercury, and Saturn? This is the first Sun-Saturn cycle. We can just say Saturn synodic cycle, unless I say like a Jupiter-Saturn synodic cycle. Jupiter and Saturn had a synod, a meeting, a conjunction, first degree of tropical Aquarius on December solstice, or Capricorn solstice, or Southstice 2020, right? So like, that was the seed of the current Jupiter-Saturn synodic cycle. When we say Saturn synodic cycle, we mean Sun-Saturn, right? And we've had 3 Sun-Saturn conjunctions in Aquarius. Before that, 3 Sun-Saturn conjunctions in Capricorn. This is the first Sun-Saturn conjunction in Pisces today. Yeah. So like if I just rewind time and look at when Sun last conjoined Saturn, it was at 2744 degrees, 27 degrees and 44 arc minutes of tropical Aquarius. That was February 16th, 2023. I call that an Aquarius Virgo cycle because Sun conjoined Saturn in Aquarius and opposed Saturn from Virgo, right? So the one before that, Sun and Saturn conjoined in tropical Aquarius at 16th degree tropical Aquarius, February 4th, 2022. And then Sun opposed Saturn from Leo. So I call that an Aquarius Leo Saturn cycle. Then we've had an Aquarius Virgo Saturn cycle, announcing the shift to now the first in like 27 years Sun Saturn conjunction in Pisces. Right, so that happened at 1:25 p.m. or happens at 1:25 p.m. Pacific time today, February 28th, 2024. If you're into that whole Gregorian trip, February. I don't believe this, but Tom Robbins said, the great author Tom Robbins, as worthless as the extra R in its name. Interesting, a month of 28 days, but this year 29. So I love teaching that about time, calendar, kung fu, and that's courses to come. Okay. Anyway, so the first Pisces Saturn cycle, literally in 27 years, and this will be a Pisces Virgo cycle. Sun conjoins Saturn in Pisces, opposes Saturn in Virgo. What is that about? Right? So good for grounded mysticism or sacred science. That beautiful axis of the Pisces Virgo pole, two sides of one thing. Virgo practice. And spirit is in every little thing. And Pisces, mysticism, and I am but a single cell of the grand uni-being, as are you. Or actually, perhaps you're a perfect reflection, but unique reflection of the one and only thing that ever was, is, and will be. All right. So powerful things are going down. I wanted to honor one of the most important teachers in my life, plants, who brought me to the planets. Now, there are particular plants like Piñón Blanco, like Marosa, and others who have been very important guides for me along my way. Have helped me try to clean up my act and help me connect. And the planets brought me to the planets in 2012, 2011, 2012, 2013, especially. When Jupiter at some point in there was crossing my ascendant, and it helped bring me to my sobriety. But I drink a lot of caffeine, I drink a lot of tea, and I want to honor this plant here, this great spirit teacher, Pu'er. This great tea from China. Ancient practices and ancient trees, many of them very old, very grounded and rooted. You feel the Capricorn and branching into the heavens. You feel the Aquarius. You feel a lot of Saturn in that, or at least I do. And the tea is something that typically helps guide me in my transmissions and my client sessions, right? Keeps me grounded, but also helps me open up. So I want to thank Pu'er. It's been a very important teacher and guide for me. And many folks like Eric Nez, Omar Riverstone, especially Poe, the tea monk Poe, who have really helped. Elijah Parker. There's so many others who have helped me meet tea. And I'm still learning to make that connection. I want to honor my first astrological teacher, who synchronicities led me to at a great time. It was Daniel Gemario, then of the Shamanic Astrology Mystery School, now of the Turning of the Ages Mystery School. And yeah, I was honoring today that perhaps this triple conjunction has part responsibility for offering me the opportunity to be co-creating along with Daniel a cosmology navigating the night sky course for his Turning of the Ages Mystery School. It's a course that Daniel has taught many times. It's one of the requisite courses for certification in the Turning of the Ages Mystery School paradigm and that approach. And so it's like just a great honor to be co-teaching with him, to actually, honor to add to my stuff and to also illustrate his amazing stuff. Daniel really helped initiate me into the astrological mysteries. I've since kind of shifted cosmologies a few times, but like invoking the importance of astrologer's connection to the living sky. I will certainly say my study, as he knows, has been more with the sky than with him, and finding my own way. Some of that for the resistance reasons I spoke of before. But Daniel's work has really honored the importance of a turning of the ages criterion based upon the solstice axis, that's the spin axis of Earth, alignment with the galactic plane. And I know that's a lot of weird words, and I'm going to be teaching like a concentrated turning of the ages course down the road sometime this year. So please, again, be on my list at GeminiBrett.com if you want to hear about more about that, free offerings, paid offerings, etc., throughout the course of this year and those to come. But I'm really honored to be working with Daniel now. Daniel, in some ways, is kind of like, I mean, I almost like my astrological uncle, to use that term from the Polynesian traditions of a great respect for somebody who guides us and is older than us. Yeah. We share so much in common, so many loves, like for stone circles and sacred sites, Hawaiian heiaus, and more. And so actually I want to honor a teacher that Daniel and I share, which is the great House of the Sun on Maui, Haleakala. And Daniel has great teachers of stone and Joshua Tree and Mount Shasta and other places that, I've gone like kind of on personal pilgrimages to connect to kind of the tradition of that paradigm that I began my astrological quest with. I want to actually honor a teacher that I'll be checking in with soon if the government doesn't shut things down, and that's actually the zodiacal floor at the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C., the Apotheosis of Washington painting by Bermudi at the oculus of the Capitol building, the star alignments there that ancients and modern mystics have, in a very hidden and interesting but hidden in plain sight way, built into DC. And I'm trying to find a way to turn that back on, but it's really turned me on to the mysteries. And I'm happy to kind of have the opportunity to make a pilgrimage and start recording with good photography and video, some things there. So it will help me share that to folks, not only like in person live, but through the online waves in the future. All right. It's been an important teacher for me. Another very important astrological teacher for me. The only other astrologer that I've actually done one-on-one teaching sessions with, Gary Caton, who I met through Daniel at then the Shamanic Astrology Mystery School. And Daniel brings great teachers around. And yeah, Gary turned me on to alchemy and into traditional astrology, which has really kind of inspired me over time. So there's been lots of teachers that I've met through books or, conferences, the Demetra Georges, Chris Brennan's great Hellenistic course I took that helped change me and advance my astrology. I mean, just so many teachers over time. Maurice Fernandez has been another kind of brother of mine. And Gary feels like that for me, older brother, So I wanted to thank Gary today because I feel like this Mercury-Saturn conjunction also reminds me to have that reverence and respect for the elders who offer the transmissions. And of course, the greatest elder who offers the transmissions directly to you and through you is the marriage of heaven and earth. So we celebrate this today as well. All right, well, that's what I came here to say. And I want to cap these things at an hour. Some of them will not be that long. But this is the first of a journey. Look, I have started many, many things, including the Storytelling podcast, which I started with a Gemini retrograde Mercury-Sun conjunction years and years ago. It's taken many forms as Gemini will. I've left it and come back to it as a retrograde Mercury will. And I've started many things, and I've finished some, and I haven't finished others. And I've really loved to just follow inspiration and kind of like go live and transmit when I'm so inspired. But I want to have more respect for folks like you who have followed and supported my work. And so for the first time, weekly, organized, 11:11 a.m. on miércoles on Wednesday. So 11:11 a.m. Pacific time. And I'll be broadcasting live to 3 places: Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. You can Gemini Brett, can search for all 3 of those. every week. I'm sure I'll take some off, and then we'll do a community discussion as well. So more of that to come, but please be on my list, GeminiBrett.com. I'm staying committed for a year, and I really look forward to taking an adventure for you. Thank you so much for supporting my work. See you in space, friends.